All right, warehouse people. I've been looking forward. Not that I don't look forward to all of them, but I really been looking forward to this one. We have got Jeff from Squad 50, which we all know was a huge favorite at the warehouse. Seriously, and I do not say this lightly. I really mean this. I think Squad 50 for me would be the whole era, the whole warehouse era, probably in the top 5, maybe top 3 live bands ever. Just tremendous.
What?
Love what they did. Love the guys. So anyway, Jeff, welcome to the warehouse again.
Well, thanks for having me back, guys. Where are you? Are you still in Bartlesville?
Yes, still
Okay,
in
good deal.
Bartlesville.
That was actually a
Yeah, I was just
contractual
talking.
agreement for us to do the show. We had to do it in
Nice.
Bartlesville.
Yeah, I
So
was
you
just talking
no,
to a coworker, and I said I'm doing a podcast because he was leaving. He's like, "You do podcasts?" I go, "Well, I was asked to be on a podcast. It's in Bartlesville, Oklahoma." He's like, "Huh?" It's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. You had to be there.
the second part, like how your last name is from Squad 50, Jeff from Squad
Yeah,
50. The warehouse, it's like our last name is it's north of Tulsa.
nice. That's what I told him. I said, "I think it's north of Tulsa." I see. My memory's not what it used to be, but I was pretty sure it was north of Tulsa.
Was it all the crazy stage diving and things that have affected your memory? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that just getting old, man. Just I
Jeff,
feel like what's that?
are you guys shooting a Squad 50 tiny desk for NPR? Like, where are you at?
Oh,
That's what it
where am
looks
I at
like.
right now?
Yeah, it looks like
This is this is room 107 in historic Savannah Arts Academy, School of Visual and
Ooh.
Performing Arts in Savannah, Georgia, 500 Washington Avenue.
God, I forgot you were in Savannah. My wife and I
Yeah,
have a bucket list item of going to all the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil stuff. That's still not
good
there, but I
stuff.
guess I can tell her that. If nothing else, I can get Jeff Squad to help us out.
Yeah, man. I work minutes from there, so from the main house, so I could hook you
Slight,
up.
slightly more famous than Bartlesville, I think.
Slightly, man. I mean, it's not
All
north
right,
of Tulsa.
so I knew this, but I think some of the people who are watching probably don't know this. So you're a teacher now. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been teaching for the last 11 years. So it's my 11th full year of that. I am currently teaching at, as I mentioned just a second ago, a performing and visual arts high school, which is pretty exciting. Actually, I am narrating a song in a concert tonight. We have our winter concert for our band. And yeah, it's an exciting place to be. Now, I don't teach the arts, but I teach Spanish. Oddly enough, we had a conversation pre-show about that a little bit, but yeah, just I love what I do, man. I always knew I wanted to work with young people, and really like the coolest part about Squad when Squad was like, you know, running like it should, or when we were at our best, it was really more about like our connection with the crowd. It was not like when it was less like, look at us and look what we're doing. It was less that, and it was more like, look at y'all, look at all of us. That was when it was magical. And I had a person or two tell me, towards the, the final days of Squad, hey, like, what do you think you'll do when if you don't do the band anymore? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And like people would either be like, you're going to be like some type of youth pastor or like some really cool teacher. And I never felt the calling to do like full-time ministry. But, I did think like that teaching thing stuck with me. I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. And went back to school at 31 in 2007 and graduated in 2010 at the age of 35. And been teaching ever since. Started teaching in 2010, and it's still going strong. I love what I do, man. I really
So
love it.
did you go back to school dry, or you already knew Spanish? I mean, were you already good at that, or what?
Oh no, absolutely not. Yeah, no. I actually the only class I can remember cheating in high school was Spanish class. So I don't know. I ended up taking it as an elective. I thought I was going to do middle grades education and probably teach math and history in middle school. And I ended up just taking a Spanish class as an elective, and I was just good at it. Like I fell in love with it. Fell in love with the grammar at first, and then became sort of obsessed with like being able to use it and actually become fluent or at least highly proficient in it. And listened to tons of podcasts, Spanish language podcasts, and been to about 7 or 8 different Spanish speaking nations. And yeah, I just love it. Love the culture, especially a lot of the pre-Columbian history of like Mesoamerica. And I don't know, man. That stuff just fascinates me. The culture, the language. I love to talk, which is why podcasts are a lot of fun for me. And speaking Spanish just gave me a whole other audience to talk to. So it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. You know, my kid is about to get a minor in Spanish.
All right.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
nice. I've been telling her all about you. El
Okay,
Jefe.
yeah.
Have you done a Spanish podcast?
I have not done a Spanish podcast. You guys want to take it to Spanish now? Like just switch
We
languages?
could, yeah, we can do it. We just do the second half.
No Espanol, Jefe. No habla Espanol.
Yeah, and the really cool thing too is that my name sort of was prefabricated for a Spanish nickname. Like when I was student teaching, you know, when the kids found out my name was Jeffrey, right away they started calling me Jefe Rey, which are 2 Spanish words that mean boss and king. So I found them suiting. So I got stuck with Jefe, which I like a lot. So pretty much everyone calls me Jefe. They call you what?
I think they call me Puto or something like that.
That's a great nickname, man. No, be proud of that. Be proud of that.
Well, okay, so while we're on the subject of this, the kids must adore you. If you were my teacher and I was in 8th grade, I would think you were the coolest human being on earth. Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, you know, I've taught it. This is my 3rd school I've been at. I've been at this school the longest. You know, an 11-year teaching history. That's not a whole lot of, you know, time to switch up schools. But my first teaching job was sort of like, I guess what you would call an inner city school. We don't per se have like a true inner city in Savannah, but it was cool. Like I was definitely, you know, a lot of my classes, I was like the only white dude in there. But it worked. Like I loved it. Like I grew up in East Savannah, and
you're the only white dude right now, too.
Yeah, look at me. And I speak Spanish. But yeah, like it just worked. Like teaching at that school sort of like was like teaching the kids in my neighborhood I grew up with, because a lot of times we were the minority in our neighborhood. But I'm really thankful for that, because I just grew up thinking of, you know, people as like my friends, you know, and of course I knew, you know, I had Black friends and Hispanic friends and Vietnamese friends, but I ultimately just thought of them as my friend. And each of them had something really cool, you know, like a really cool, you know, cultural element anytime we went to their house, you know, like especially like our Vietnamese friends whose parents didn't speak English very well. And we, you know, sort of decipher through gestures and stuff, because our friends at times would refuse to translate for us and just leave us out there to sink or swim. But, so yeah, like the first school, you know, it worked. I loved it, but unfortunately, the county I was working in let all their first-year teachers go that year, and so I was a first-year teacher, so I was gone, and I ended up in a county that was like 80% Caucasian, and that was weird. At first, I hated it. I was like, because I'd learned to sort of like function in that other school. And it's like I had to change up my whole game because what worked there didn't work at the new place. And at first I hated it, but once I got it figured out, like I actually loved being there as well. But then about 3 years into that, an opportunity came up to come to this school, which my daughter was about to be a sophomore. She was a theater major here. And I thought, yeah, it'd be cool to get on her schedule, because she was in a different district and their schedule was a little bit different. And so I landed here, man, and this school was just awesome, really just awesome, man. And just like with Squad, when I'm at my best is when it's more about like the kids and their success and less about like, hey, look at me and everything I know. I always tell the kids, like, my number one rule is like respect. You got to respect me, respect yourself, respect your classmates. And when that happens, then everything else is, you know, will fall into place. And I always said, I don't care if you love me, but I do care if you respect me. And if you don't respect me, you'll see Jefe turn into Mr. Fortson really fast. And I said, but you will love me because I'm lovable. You know,
they're probably scared of the tattoos, though.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about being at this school is that you can actually I wear short sleeves all the time because there's no regulation against that. My old district that was a little more buttoned up, you had to cover up all tattoos regardless. So lots of
I would
long
think
sleeves.
the kids that probably come in on the first day, they're like, "What is with this guy?"
Yeah, open house is always fun. You like shock the
It's
parents.
Travis from Blink.
Oh, it
Okay,
is.
so you said something that really resounded with me a while ago when you were talking about how you want everybody to be included. That you were so Jeff, you were so successful. I mean, the first time you played at the warehouse, and I was actually going to look up the date, but I neglected it because of the other thing. But it was during the Bulletproof days, and you
Yeah.
came with the Nikki Sixx thing and all that when you guys had just first started out. But I mean, even as far back as that, I mean, you were really good at making like not a whole lot of difference between the stage and the audience. You were always really good at including everybody and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably had a lot to do with the bands that we looked up to too. We'd spend hours watching Minor Threat live at the 930 Club, and there'd be like times during that video, that crappy VHS video, where you couldn't tell the difference between the band and the audience. There was just so many people coming on and off the stage, like just in constant rotation. And that's just what we always wanted to recreate. We wanted to recreate that connection with a crowd where, like, it's the way we write songs too. Like pretty much every Squad song has some part that's written for the crowd to sing along. It's like gang vocals, as they called it back in the day. But
Rocking it,
They still do.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and you were really good. And I remember also being amazed at how quickly you went into it. Like, you're slightly younger than me, but like I always refer to it like as, I don't know, kind of after school special. In the 70s, they'd be like, tonight on a very special Different Strokes. It's going to be serious. You seem like like a lot of bands, it's like that was almost like a part in the show. Like, here's where we're going to break it down and we're going to be all serious. You were like that from the second that it's the first note played.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think just sometimes, we're all born wired a certain way. And I guess the way John and I was always wired, we're just like people. Yeah, let's go with that. People persons. I like people, man. Like, I love interacting. I love, I sort of have a hard time getting deep nowadays. like if someone gets real emotional or like, God, who was it? Someone talked to me the other day, and I told my wife, it's like, I just don't know what to say. Like, I don't know. I guess it's just in my old age. Like, there's a part of me where I'm just like, get over it. Like, I don't know. Like, but I love people, but I feel like I have lost a little bit of my ability to be like, let's have a heart to heart. I had a kid I mentored come up and talk to me. A lot of the kids I've mentored over the years are all like in their mid to late 20s now, which is kind of crazy. But they were like, look at me, because I know you're not going to take this seriously. I need you to know this is about to be serious. And I'm like, okay. And as soon as they start talking, I made some joke, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to like be there for you. I just don't know, man. It's just like, I don't know. But
you should just
yeah,
start reciting
people,
Squad lyrics.
Should just make a Spanish language Squad Photo album and just re-record all the songs.
Dude, Christina Aguilera did that in like her first album. They did like a Spanish version of that too, because she could speak Spanish. And my grandma bought me that one, and I was like, I have no clue what's going on here.
It's a thought that counts.
Yes.
So Jeff, tell me about the beginning of Squad 50. Because you guys, I'll tell you something funny. I don't think I ever told you this. Like, you had an ad in HM, and I think it was you. I don't think it was John. You were like bent over backwards. I mean, like totally rocking out. And I mean, we were everybody. I remember like going through the magazine. I was like, what the hell? Look at these guys. And so I don't remember what the next show was at the warehouse. And I was like, God, we got to get Squad 50. And some random kid goes, I saw that, man. Those guys are rocking out. And that was literally the first thing I ever thought about Squad 50.
Yeah, it started in a bedroom, man, like most life. Well, not that way. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, it started in our bedroom with just John and I. And John and I had been in a few bands after high school, but we were still doing sort of the college thing at the same time, going to school just because that's what you're supposed to do after high school. And we brought this kid named Justin in, to play with us a little bit, Justin Kohut, and it clicked. Like, he wasn't the world's greatest drummer, but he was a pretty good drummer. And we were able to write a ton of songs really fast. And of course, we were being influenced by bands like Off Ivy.
Yeah,
I mean, Rancid. A lot of those early albums where the influences on the sleeve. I mean, pretty much everything we did wears the influence on the sleeve. But we would just get in that bedroom, man, 2 to 3 times a week. It was on the second floor of my mom and dad's house, and we would take the mattresses off our twin beds. We would put them up in the windows to try to stop the sound from exiting the house. And we would just get up there and sweat it out. There was no central air. And we would just sweat out these songs. We'd be up there shirtless, just dripping sweat. And, I would...
you have that white SG? Was that what you were playing at the time?
No, I was playing a yellow SG, actually. I had like a mustard yellow SG that eventually
I think it was white.
I still have my white SG. That was the last guitar I guess last SG I owned, and I still have it. But yeah, the yellow one eventually got covered in Yoo-Hoo stickers. And yeah, we would just get up there and I would sort of move phonetic sounds around, like fake lyrics, until something sort of caught a melody. And I'd be like, okay, now let me put some words to this melody. And yeah, we would just, dude, it was awesome. It was magic, really. We always talk about those early days. And, we used to play this club called the Pterodactyl a lot in Marietta, Georgia. And those were just like, I guess some people would call them the salad days. But yeah, just kind of, there's a line in one of our songs off the self-titled that says, "We were young and so naive," yeah. And I really that is what it felt like, there wasn't a ton of drama, there wasn't this whole idea of we've got to make it, and this has got to be my career. We were just happy to play in anyone's basement or attic or some club or even some church. Wherever we could play, we would play, and we would sleep on your couch or in the van. And back then we were young enough and carefree enough, and we didn't have a ton of responsibility. So yeah, they were like pretty magic days. I'm always super grateful for the music that shaped me when I was younger, and the experience that shaped me when I was out on the road and meeting new people and playing awesome venues like the Warehouse in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, just north of Tulsa.
When was the first time you hit the Warehouse?
Gosh, I don't think
I can look it up. I can find it.
It was in the 90s.
Keep talking. I'll find it while you're talking.
Okay. It was in the 90s for sure. I remember the furthest west we'd ever driven was in 97, the very beginning of 97. We drove out to Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas. And that's actually where we first met Jason Anderson, who became the drummer before we actually did our first real tour. So that was one of the last trips Justin did with us, was out to Fayetteville. And then soon after that, Jason sent us word got out that we were looking for a drummer. Jason sent us a demo tape, and we're like, hey, let's do it. So yeah, I would think it would be 98 maybe at the latest. If you tell me what my hair looked like, I could tell you.
Well, it was on that first tour. I mean, you guys were still doing the really kind of Up Ivy-ish stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I think Tim framed it as Bulletproof Fist or something like that, or something to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Does this ring a bell? April 10th, 1998, Squad 50, Dear Ephesus, Johnny Respect, Spec.
That would be it. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. 90. I said 90s, right? See?
Yeah, late 90s.
A little something up there.
And check this out. How cool was the freaking Warehouse? That this is what surrounded that. So on 328, Third Day, Grandma Train, 4-3, POD, 410, that show I just said, Squad 50, Dear Ephesus, who I think dominates. I love deer episodes.
Yeah, they're good.
Johnny Respect Spec. 411 the next day after that, Stavesacre, full Zandura quail.
Jeez.
5'9" Plank Eye Insiders.
Jeez, Bob. I would have been broke if I lived in Bartlesville. I would have been at so many shows.
I think we'd have let you in for free, probably.
Yes. That's the one thing I've never. How much was it to get into the warehouse?
At that time,
$10.
I think that show I just said was $10, probably.
What's like five bands for $10, man?
Yeah,
it's $2 a band.
That was pretty expensive back in the day.
Well, and then when we had the band tournament, and actually, speaking of that, I'm representing Phil Moore, who started in our band tournament.
Nice.
The whole thing for that was 5 bands for $5. Because it was a deal. They weren't signed, so it wasn't $10 worthy. It was $5 worthy.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so tell me about touring. I mean, because you were, and I respect your heart for that. I get that. I feel the same way. Like, I love people are like, what was it? How do you get involved with the warehouse? And I'm like, you just got to pay attention. But I literally thank God daily that I was aware and in the right place when all this stuff happened to get to see Squad 5-0 when you started out. So what was that for you? What was that for you that you were like, we're going to tour?
I mean, it was freaking exciting, man. Just like I always, like, when I talk, my kids are adults now. Like, my daughter's 22, my son's 19. And I just always, like, when we go on trips and stuff, I'm always like, do you know I used to do this without a smartphone? Like, I had what was called a road atlas, and we would call ahead
from AAA,
get directions from the venue, and then use the road atlas to get us to where the directions started, and then follow the handwritten directions to the venue. I mean, that's literally like how we did it. We didn't have a cell phone. I think Jimmy Rocketship, the road manager, he may have had a cell phone, but he's the only one with a cell phone. So I was like calling collect whenever I called home, or buying a phone card and calling from what we call it. Guys, it was called a payphone. And, we would actually pay to call home. But yeah, it was just, gosh, man, it was everything you had hoped it would be. And, like, it was just like an adventure, man. It was like a great adventure. Like, I'm just so, like you said, I just feel so fortunate to have been of age in that time period where I was old enough to leave home and just be like, I'll see you in a couple months. But also young enough to not realize, hey, where are we sleeping tonight? It's like there's just a certain, like, just wide-eye wonder to it all. And, like, for us, it was like, it didn't matter if 4 kids came or 400 people came. To us, it's like, they're going to get the best show we can give them. We always had the motto, if you're not bleeding by the end of the show, then you didn't really give it your all.
Well, so, if I remember correctly, didn't you do like a pyramid in those days or something? Like, you guys like stacked up or something?
Yeah, dude, we did a lot of stuff, man. We would stack up. I don't know. We would just lose ourselves. We had like certain scripted things we would do, like we called them instead of pyrotechnics, we called them hydrotechnics, where we would spit water and hit a water bottle and make it explode, which in this day and age seems a little reckless. But back then, like, there was so much spit exchange between everyone. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. It was just like a really magical. I almost feel like there's not that sense of the unknown. Like, with computers now, it's like, you can see, like, I can get on Google Earth, and I do it all the time, get on Google Earth and take virtual tours. I could go to Street View and go down the streets of foreign countries and, cities. And I actually do that from time to time. Like, I'll go on Google Earth to places I've been, and I'll go back through the streets and, like, oh yeah, that was awesome. And I'll just slowly go down the street and look at all the landmarks that we saw. But back then, it's like, to see it, you had to go, you had to go to see it. And I'm so glad that, we were just the right age to experience that. And I would trade it for the world, man. I mean, we were poor and broke and living off $5 per diem a day. And it was perfect.
Well,
Magical.
with that said, what did you think when you rolled up to the warehouse?
I said, well, this is the venue. It's a warehouse. It's a literal warehouse. You know, because we play clubs like the Pterodactyl. It's not actually a pterodactyl, turns out. You know, the warehouse though. The warehouse was aptly named. I remember being really impressed with the setup because, like you said, it is north of Tulsa. And so when you're driving out to Bartlesville, you know, you're like, okay. And we played some like kind of like small towns per se, maybe even smaller than Bartlesville. You know, like we played like Stevens Point, Wisconsin, if you even know where that is. So we would pretty much play anywhere, man. You know, so Bartlesville, we heard good things about it from other bands we played with and stuff, and so we were really excited for it to be on our, you know, our list of stops for that tour. But yeah, I remember just being very impressed, like going inside it, and it was like an actual venue, you know, with the sound and the lights and all that good stuff. And some of our best shows ever were in that warehouse, man. Like
Oh my
honestly,
gosh, I
like
remember
certain,
that.
yeah, certain places, like just the buildings, the venue, the city itself has like it's like a living thing. Even though you know it's a building. No, 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 no. You don't understand. It's a living thing. Like it has a personality. Like I feel that way now about my classes. Like I teach, you know, 3 classes a day, um, and each class has a different personality. And I tell them that at the beginning of the year. You guys are all individuals, but this class will form a personality, and it happens every single year. Like there is like a certain culture that develops in one class that doesn't develop in the other, or a certain like thing here that doesn't exist in this other group of kids. And that's how the warehouse was, man. It was just the perfect mixture of like, you know, I don't know. The kids say it was a vibe, man. It's just a
Well, I
vibe,
always
yeah.
tell people it was really a moment in time, you know? I mean,
Oh yeah.
it really
Yeah.
was. And so what was the rest of it? So here's the thing with Squad 50. You guys were clearly going to be bigger than that. And I remember I was thinking about this earlier. There's only 3 now. My Cornerstone, I don't go all the way back to the beginning of it. But I remember 3
Right.
distinct bands, like just like t-shirt wise. And it was MXPX, you guys, and the Devil Wears Prada. And I remember like going to Cornerstone the first year I went, everybody's wearing MXPX shirts. And then 2-3 years later, everybody's wearing Squad 50 shirts. And just being like, you know, these guys are going to be gigantic. So what was that transition? Because and you kind of changed musically too. I mean, because the first record would be
Yeah.
different than the third record. So what was it?
Yeah.
Tell us about that evolution, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Like at the time when we were going through it, it just felt really natural. Like it felt like a natural transition. Because if you'd ever see us play, even when we were doing the punk ska stuff, there was like there was theatrics. There was like big hairband theatrics, like big glam theatrics. And eventually I guess the look sort of caught up with that. We never wanted to be like super pretty. We wanted to be like gutter glam. So like, you know, you know, stylish. You got the big hair. You got the guy liner all over. But at the same time, you look like you maybe just woke up in the ditch or something. You know, like you wanted like a little bit of edge to it. And I think we'd always envisioned the music, you know, just progressing from more like the punk ska stuff into more like a rock based punk rock. You know, like we
Yeah.
love bands like Hanoi Rocks and Degeneration and things like that. And so it felt like a natural transition to us. But of course, I mean, when I look back on it now, oh, by the way, that era of Squad 50, the Bombs Over Broadway era, is really fun to show to your students, especially
Oh
now
my
that you're fully bearded and no hair on
god.
top, and you're just
Dude,
showing off this beautiful lion's mane. But
absolutely,
yeah, so it
absolutely
felt natural.
killing it main stage at Cornerstone.
Yeah, that was fun. The first year on main stage was the best year. That was the most fun we had because, just like I said, we didn't know any better. You know, we're just like, okay, let's do this. And also, that's before Cornerstone put in the barricades. So kids were just like your neck with basically your chin was stage level. So it's like just enough to get your neck pushed straight into the corner. And we didn't know any better, man.
Was that the
We didn't know any
year
better.
that
But
was
yeah,
that
it's
the
almost
year
like
that they had the POD was headlining and they had like the walkway? Was that the same year?
no, that was the next year, or maybe the year after that. The first year we played, I forget who was playing after us. It may have been POD, but there was no catwalk. That was 99. So our first year Cornerstone was 97. Well, we went 96, but we didn't play. We just went to go. And then 97, we played underground stage. Amazing. Religious experience. I mean, it was insane. Chills. I get chills whenever I talk about it. And then 98, we played the underground again. We didn't feel like it was as great as the first year because the first time you do something, there's just like that naivety. Did I say that right? You're just naive and you don't know what to expect, right? And so it's just everything's just like wide-eyed, like this is amazing. And then the next year, you're going to compare that to the year before. Well, of course, it's not going to feel the same. It's like your first kiss. Like your 100th kiss doesn't feel like your first kiss, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, yeah. And so then 99 was our first year on the main stage. And that was just like, holy crap, this is like, there's like 20,000 people or something. It was insane. They weren't all there to see us kids. But it was still the kids up front were. The kids trying to get their heads knocked off by the stage, man. I actually have friends. They're friends of mine now. I didn't know them back then, but they were at our show at that first Cornerstone 99 on main stage. And they have told me on several occasions that they had to escape for their lives because they got pushed up against the stage. And they actually decided the only way they were getting out of this was to drop and go under the stage and come out the backside of the stage. He's like, I swear we did it, man. I swear we did it. We had to like crawl to safety. I'm like, yeah, it was bonkers, man. It was bonkers. But
Dude,
yeah, so 99. Go ahead.
I wish I could remember who it was that told me this because you'd think it was funny. Right around that time. So I think Tim was managing you. Is that right?
Yes.
Did they just shut you down?
No, like my classroom lights are on a timer, and so there had been movement. So it needed movement.
Was Cook managing you at that point? I think he was. I think so.
I think by the time we played the main stage, yes. And you know what? POD probably did play the main stage later at night because they're like Marcos is in the background of some of the pictures.
Well, I remember distinctly that like everybody, they're making a big deal about, they got this catwalk and it's going to be great. And, you know, I was there because of Tim. So you're there playing main stage. I'm there selling merch for Grandma Train, I think, if I remember correctly, and thinking I'm cool, you know, because I can get backstage and it's so awesome and all this. So anyway, they were telling me about this catwalk and it's PODs and nobody can use it, and you know it's supposed to be, it's off limits and nobody can use it. And so I come up there to you guys, and of course you're all the way at the end of it, like jumping off and stuff. And I remember, and somebody, I want to say it was Brian Gray, maybe, I don't remember who. Somebody, I was like, oh, I thought nobody was using that, and he was like, it's Squad 5-0.
That was probably Brian Gray then.
But I just remember being like, man, you can't stop those guys.
Yeah, it's amazing that Brian still likes us. Like I remember one year we had to pay Cornerstone because we broke some monitors. Like we put water in one of their monitors. But yeah, dude, that was just young. You know, you tell me not to do something. If they hadn't said anything about it, I probably wouldn't have done it. But once they said like, that's only for them. And POD are a bunch of great guys, man. Like so great. But I'm a pretty nice guy, but I'm just enough of an asshole to do something like that. Not now, though, guys. Look at me. Model of respect. But yeah, like, so on the Enneagram, I know this is the Enneagram podcast. Let's talk about the Enneagram. I'm a 7. Like, I'm the most 7-7 ever. Okay, but my wing 8. Like my challenger is really strong. So
what's a 7? What is that?
Seven
What
is
that?
like they are the now that you've asked me, yeah, I've drawn a blank. Sevens are they're the great, that's the best number. What the heck are we? People listening to this right now are yelling what sevens are. All right, my son's an 8, he's a challenger. My wife is a 3, she's an achiever. My daughter's a 3 as well. And the sevens are, we are amazing people. That's what we are. I'm going to Google it real quick.
Okay, the reason
I
I'm
just know
asking
that,
my
yes.
wife has recently started that, and I know nothing about it other than what she's told me. And she comes home and
It's
she's
fun.
like, well, she's like, I've totally figured you out. You're a number 4. And
It's
I'm
all
like,
numerology and
I'm
of the
like,
devil.
is that an insult? I
Right.
don't even know.
I think it's kind of like, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it, but if you use it as a tool, if it's, we're called enthusiast. Duh.
Huh.
An
You're pretty
enthusiast.
enthusiastic. I can
Yeah.
get that.
So sevens, like, we like a good time. We're always looking for the next party. We're always trying to bring the next party. We'd never meet a stranger, sort of thing, right? But what we're not really good at is like getting the bills paid on time, or that was due today, like that sort of stuff. Like that's like we're sevens. And the most
I'm a 7.
stereotypical thing, the most stereotypical thing about a 7 is that sevens are sure that they're the best number. Like anytime we're like, I'm a 1, oh cool, that must be nice, but I'm a 7.
7 is divine, isn't it? Isn't that
yeah.
God's number or something?
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect. But
Okay, so
yeah,
here's
I think,
another number that you brought up that I would think would be interesting to talk about.
okay.
On a $5 per diem tour, $5 a day per diem for
Right, you
food,
could-
1998. What are you eating?
Lots of Taco Bell, and lots of whatever they're feeding us at the show.
Because that was like the golden age of Wendy's too. Like Wendy's had that. The Wendy's for years had the best 99-cent menu.
Yeah, and dude, we were like, when we moved up to a $10 day per diem, bro, we thought we made it. We're like,
that's when you were taking over
10
on
whole
catwalk.
dollars. Yeah, that's when I took over the catwalk. Oh, what
all that money went to your head.
Such a jerk.
So you went from that to Tooth and Nail, and
Yeah.
you guys, if there was ever a band that was born to be on Tooth and Nail, it was you guys.
Right.
So what was that? What was that transition like?
It was cool. I mean, it was kind of like sticky because with Bulletproof, there was like a lot of kind of sort of red tape. We'd never really signed a contract with them. We had signed a letter of intent, but we had never signed anything regarding our publishing. So technically, we still owned all of our publishing, but
nice.
Bulletproof had not been paying us on it. And so that's sort of how we got off the contract with them. It was kind of a slick little thing that happened there where Brandon, wanted us, and Brandon, saw the pathway to acquiring us. And of course, we wanted to be on Tooth and Nail. I mean, that was pretty much every band in our genre, or at least in the scene we were in. That was the goal, right? And it should have been a perfect marriage. And I love Tooth and Nail, and they were great to us. And I have no bad memories of our time with them. I love Brandon. I haven't talked to Brandon in years, but I got along so great with Brandon, and all of us did, really. I slept in his basement one time. His basement was nicer than my house. It was just awesome. But but yeah, I think it was just sort of like, with the evolution of the music into, out of the punk ska into more like the glam punk sort of thing, I think it would have worked. Like, if you've ever heard the demos of our songs, like We Rule the Night and Apocalypse Now, that were on a couple of the songs from the Penalty Box, those demos are awesome. Like, they're fast. They're not fast. They're not like, the punk rock beat, but they're the tempo's fast. And then when we went to go make the album, we chose a producer, Dwayne Barron, who was like, he's a great producer, but he's a hard rock producer. And so one of the first things he did, because he knows how to produce a hard rock album, was he slowed us down. It's like, these songs need groove, and you guys are just flying through them. I think if there's one part of Squad 5 as far as like music wise that I could do over, it would be that we would have made the album Bombs Over Broadway, and it would have sounded more like the demos did with we play them live, like how we play the songs live. But some people, that's their favorite Squad album. They're like, "Oh, I love that album." I can't.
That's my
really
favorite.
Listen.
That's
I
my
can't
favorite.
listen to it.
Well, I always, and I mean this is a massive compliment, but I always felt like none of the studio could really cap. You guys were just, I mean, put you on live, you were just unleashed, and like it just didn't capture it in the studio. At least for me, it didn't.
No, I agree with you. I don't think Squad's ever recorded anything that was as good as we were live. I love the album we made with Barry Pointer in Little Rock, Arkansas. The self-titled one. That's probably my favorite Squad album.
Yeah,
which was the second Tooth and Nail album. I felt like it had more energy. All 5 of us were writing at the time, so everyone was contributing to the writing process. And it was just a really great experience. Barry's just a great guy. And Little Rock was actually kind of a really fun town to be in. And, we recorded in the fall, which is probably my favorite season. I don't know. There's a lot of things made that a really, really pleasant experience. Except, of course, the day we're supposed to start tracking drums is when 9/11 happened. That was crazy. And I didn't even think about the Bombs album cover. But my dad called me. He was like, "What are y'all going to do about the album cover?" And I was like, "Holy crap, I didn't even think of that." So that was kind of an interesting sort of moment in time. I guess you'll never forget where you were when that happened. We just happened to be recording an album, sleeping in a La Quinta Inn. But yeah, surreal stuff. But yeah, that's probably my favorite one, the self-titled, and probably my favorite recording experience. The last album, I don't really listen to a whole lot, just because, not that the songs aren't good, just because I don't feel like I was in a really great spot, personally and spiritually at that time. So it just sort of reminds me of, a moment, or at least a period in my life where I'm not entirely, I don't want to say proud of. It was nothing crazy. It was just I just sort of became consumed with we're going to make it. We're stars. Look at us. We got to be seen at the right place at the right time. And we recorded that album in Hollywood. So of all the places where you feel like that, of course, Hollywood. And there was a lot of splintering in the band by then. John had already started playing with The Kick, that is, became Gasoline Heart. And him and Lewis are best friends. So, of course, part of his, he was divided. He wanted to be in the band with me, but he also had more fun in Lewis's band because it was not as serious. And,
I think those guys are mad at me.
Oh, Gasoline Heart?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
maybe they're probably over it by now. I love them, but I said, I love their episodes
or something. Yeah, they're great guys. Yes, yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I did want to tell you something funny about
self-titled. Tell me something.
So when it would go back one record, so when the thing was happening with Bombs Over Broadway, and I think it was Lori Lenz that told me this, if I remember right. And it's important to note, Jeff, I'm a little bit older than you guys. The first concert I ever saw in my life was Rat with special guest Bon Jovi. So I was in the middle of all that hair metal. All that hair metal I was serious about. And I remember, I think it was Lori, but somebody was telling me oh, Squad, they're listening to that stuff and they're taking it seriously. And I was like, heck yeah, man, I love that. Are you kidding me? Dawkins? I love those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we did, I think, when you get into punk rock and stuff, and you would think that it would be the opposite, which it is. I guess the punk ethos is probably the exact opposite of the Hollywood scene from the mid to late 80s. But you think of bands like Guns N' Roses, those guys, they were like a punk band, man. I mean, that was big, super produced hard rock. But dude, Appetite for Destruction is a dangerous album, man. It's a masterpiece. And they had a punk attitude, I think Success ruined Guns N' Roses. Like I can't
Yeah.
even listen to the Use Your Illusions. Like I just GNR Lies is as far as I could take it with them. But like there was just an edge to them and like an element of danger that just went away when they put a grand piano on stage. You know, it just
Yeah.
it just was like. Although I will say I've seen some videos from like the '92 era, the Use Your Illusion, World Tour era, and I used to not get Axl's look, like the like the bikey shorts, the spandex shorts, and the kilts and different. But I gotta say, like looking at it now, I'm like, it's not a bad look. Like I don't think I could pull it off.
It's because you see it all day at school, Jeff. That's what every kid is wearing right now is bike shorts. Like I never thought I'd have to put when I have an intern at work, you can't wear bike shorts to work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they won't let the teachers wear them though. I mean, bummer.
Tim's rocking a pair right now.
Oh yeah.
Nice,
And they look good too. You
Yeah,
know what I always remember about Axl from that era, and it's so stupid, but I remember he had a mic stand that was like a steering column, like it had like the base of it was a steering wheel.
Yeah.
But all the rest of it, I didn't think it was too cool. I agree with you. I thought the first record is tremendous. I thought Lies was okay. What was the one that had the Spaghetti Incident? There were some good songs on that, but like everything else, I'm over pretty much.
Yeah.
But again, for me, I'm kind of like, you know what? I was really into that third Black and Blue record or like
nice, man.
Anyway,
one of the bands that I think, kind of carried on the torch from the Squad 5-0 days, it kind of reminded me, it was a little bit more staged, was Family Force 5.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard them.
You've never heard Family Force 5? I thought they had some of the kind of the name. Okay. They're from Georgia too.
Oh,
they're yeah, and like they kind of had like the just rambunctious stuff, but they were kind of more over the top. I thought they were very produced. Like BWAC from the David Crowder band built them it was like the size of a wall, beat pad, like an MPC, a Kai.
Wow.
And they would like sit in the back and just like bang on it. And their guitar tech was all over the stage, like stage diving. I thought it had a very same kind of feel.
Well, I think
I'm gonna have to go watch some YouTube.
Well, with that said, I think Squad influenced tons of bands. I mean, just everything you guys did. I mean, it landed, honestly. And when you changed the self-titled, and you're right, it did become a little more serious. Like even then, I mean, everybody else was doing that. I mean, like the skinny ties and stuff and all that.
Yeah. Yep. I do remember when we were doing the self-title, I previewed the Strokes' first album at Walmart. You remember when like music stores had like listening stations?
Yeah,
and you could go like listen to part of each song on the album.
Yeah.
I remember doing that. It's weird. I remember doing that for This Is It and also for Definitely Maybe. I think it was Definitely Maybe by Oasis. That one was at a Blockbuster though, and that was when I was still in high school. But yeah, like kids will never know that,
Hot Topic used to let you listen to the whole album.
So here's another thing, Jeff, and this is for the Christian kids out there. So what we had instead of the listening station and the Christian things was recommended if you like.
Yes.
What was if you like?
And they were never right. I mean, I highly doubt they ever said recommended if you like Operation Ivy and Johnny Thunders. To your recollection, what did they compare you to in the Christian bookstores?
Well, of course, it's undeniable the Green Day influence that is coming through on our work, and I think I saw Offspring. They were just taking the two biggest punk bands at the time and putting them out there. But I do remember seeing Green Day, and I remember seeing Offspring. I'm trying to remember what else. I don't know. I can't remember. We were too busy getting in trouble with Christian bookstores for having the word "sucks" in a song.
Can and that is something that just really chaps me to this day, because for those that don't know, these gentlemen, who I appreciate the hell out of, had a song called Our State Flag Sucks, which it did. It had a Confederate flag on it and everything. You were making you were making a statement that Christians should have been saying all along. And instead of keying into these guys are promoting, racial unity and stuff like this, they're like, can't say sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. They took the word sucks off the back of the CD.
Hey,
what did they change it to? Or did they just took it off?
Our State Flag. That's the name of the song. Our State Flag.
My dad I remember when, I can't remember which MXPX album it was, that Everything Sucks When You're Gone song was on. My dad had an issue with that one, being a good Southern Baptist preacher. He was like, and look at him in them tight fitted jeans gyrating. And I was like, oh gosh. And then like, what was it? The POD album After Satellite, you had to go buy from Mardell, like behind the counter, like it was a Playboy, because it had the it had the naked girl with like, it said like Sanctify or something over the top of it, and you had to go to Mardell, you have the new POD album. We're like, hold on one second. Hey, we need somebody to unlock the cabinet. We got a POD, and they're going over the intercom. You're like, just whatever, I gotta go.
Did you look both ways to make sure no one was looking at you? Like,
it was that Squad 50 band.
Yeah, did you get that POD?
Yeah. And on the first album, on What I Believe, there was a song called Hand Over Fist, and there's a lyric in it that says, "You really pissed me off and I lashed out." And the lyrics on the inside, we had to put the word ticked me off instead of pissed me off. But you can clearly hear if you listen, like I say, you really pissed me off. But evidently you couldn't say pissed in the Christian bookstore either. So
no.
See,
just us causing issues. I look nice right now.
I'm picturing Brian Gray standing there with the Christian bookstore people, and they're like, look at what they're saying. Well, it's Squad 50.
Yeah.
Well, Stripe got in trouble a few years ago with their title, because they had it was like God.
What was it?
It was goddamn
goddamn the devil.
Yeah, goddamn evil.
Well, how about To Hell with the Devil? That was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's edgy.
It's kind of funny that like you remember some things, but like you really remember the controversial. Like I definitely remember Our State Flag Sucks, and I remember To Hell with the Devil, and I remember all that kind of stuff. So we know we're at 53 minutes, and I don't want to take up your time because you got to do something else, but I want to ask you about this, Jeff. This is serious. So you guys, not that you don't kill it every time you play, but you guys played a legendary set at Furnace Fest and freaking dominated. So thoughts on Furnace Fest this year and the one coming up? What do you think about this?
I think Furnace Fest is an amazing event. I think it was really cool seeing people's, Brian Gray was posting out the wazoo about it, but it just like, I think what looked so great about it was just this feeling of community that bands who were back in that scene back in the day probably have missed. Not just because we don't tour and we don't interact like we used to. We would see each other all the time, like at festivals or at different shows. And that hasn't happened for a long time, at least to for these bands. But I really think too, after being in lockdowns and, having to interact over the internet and stuff like that, I think like once you just got back together in person, it looked like it was just like that even added to the specialness of it, especially since it moved like 2 to 3 times. I think they moved it. But yeah, I think it was cool. It looked like they had some really awesome bands on the bill. I'm real good friends with John Giddens from Showbread. He lives down the street from me. He's the guitarist.
They killed it.
Yeah, and he, I messaged him. I'm like, "How sore are you?" Like a day or two later, he's like, "Dude, I'm dying." But yeah, like I think it was cool. And a lot of people asked why we weren't on it. I mean, I guess one reason we were on it is we weren't asked to be on it. But I think another reason is like, I think stylistically, it didn't make like a ton of sense for us to be on it. I mean, it was like definitely more in the vein of like the hardcore, metalcore, metal.
Dude, I saw you. We promoted you guys with Living Sacrifice that time at the
That was the great thing about that Christian scene, man. Like you could we went on tour with Living Sacrifice and Ace Troubleshooter. I don't know if you could get more polar opposite. Like, but it worked. Like it worked. You know, like you just could do that back in those days. But yeah, I mean, so if Furnace Fest offered us a spot for next year, would we say no? No, we'd say yes. We would make it happen.
Oh yeah, you heard
I
it
mean, we
here
have played
first.
a few.
I doubt that's the first time you've been asked that question, though.
Well, yeah, John was asking me about it. It's like, dude, have y'all been asked? I'm like, nope, not yet, man. But you know, it's fine. It's whatever. You know, Chad has to bring in the bands that that he thinks he should bring in. And honestly, like the great thing, like I don't know how much you know about the recent history of Squad, but you know, we played a couple of reunion shows with Five Iron out in California, and then a couple more, one in Florida, one in Atlanta. And guys, honestly, that was like fall of 2017, winter of 2018. And it was so much fun. Like it was so fun. And I think the part of it that was fun, it's probably like not the best we've ever played. You know, since we haven't, I think we practiced one day before the first show. But the thing is that there was no like pressure. Like we weren't doing it because we were trying to make a living at it. We were doing it because, hey, this is a bunch of guys I spent a large portion of my life with, sleeping in a van and, peeing in bottles. Like we're bonded for life, like we're bonded for life. And it was just fun to get back with them and the fans who were now bringing their kids to the show, saying like, this is the band that, helped shape my teenage years. And now they're bringing their teenagers to the show. And, like my daughter and my son got to see us play. They were both tiny. Don't ever remember ever, they didn't, neither one have any childhood memories of us playing. So that was kind of fun. And I remember we were at the Atlanta show with Five Iron, and we were about to do our last song, our Bombs Over Broadway. And I look out, and in the middle of the freaking room is like my 6'3" son standing next to my daughter and her fiance and her friends. And I'm like, I stopped the song. I was like, guys, I just gotta stop. I mean, my freaking kids are right there. Like, this is a surreal moment for me. And like, so yeah, it's just been so special the last couple times we played, because there is no pressure to like be rock stars or something. The only pressure is to be able to walk the next day or not be permanently damaged. Like the Atlanta show, I would say, ended with a hurrah. John coming out of the crowd, me going towards the crowd, our two masses colliding, and him falling down into the barricade, and he cracked a rib.
Oh, actually, it doesn't surprise me. You guys were always so crazy with that.
Wasn't great at the time. He was pretty pissed at me for a little bit, but I had like, dude, I didn't mean to do it. Like we just ran into each other. But yeah, he ended up with a cracked rib, and fortunately, he works at a place where they do X-rays, and he got it X-rayed, and it got healed up and stuff. But yeah, so awesome. It's been a lot of fun, and we actually just recorded some new songs. We have like 7 new songs that we've written and wrote and recorded in the summer of 2020, and should be seeing the light of day early 2022. It's all
just in time for Furnace Fest.
Yeah, like it's all mixed and mastered, and it was mastered at is it called the Blasting Room in Fort Collins? The Bill Stevenson from the Descendants mixed it.
Wow.
I mean, mastered it. And yeah, we're coming out in like CD format, a 10-inch vinyl collectors.
Hey, yeah.
What about cassettes?
The CD is actually going to be a collector's as well, because Chris made a huge art, I don't even know what to call it, tapestry of some sort, and then cut it up into 100 jewel box size pieces, and then numbered them. And so like if you buy the CD, you'll get like, the cover art, but then you'll also get, because the cover art is like a professional photograph of that thing he created, made to fit the format, but actually you'll get with it a piece of the actual tapestry, which is kind of cool. So that's collectors, the 12-inch or the 10-inch vinyl, and then of course digital. So yeah, it's just it takes longer. Not yet. We were hoping to do an album release show in Orlando in around January
Bartlesville?
22nd. Yeah, oh, that would be awesome.
Hey, we got
but you know, like
Reformation Fest
Chris,
now.
nice. Oh yeah, I saw that. Is that in Bartlesville?
Yeah, that's in Bartlesville, bud.
Oh, nice.
Dude, you can play
Yeah, we
with
just
Corn,
became
man.
Facebook friends with Corn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Head. Head was there, huh?
Yeah.
That's
We'll
awesome.
get you guys on next year. You guys can open for the Undertaker.
Well, look,
Nice.
brother, I don't want to take up your time. I want to say this at the end. We appreciate the hell out of you, seriously, and
Yeah,
thank you
ditto.
for all the great shows, just everything, the energy, thank you for being a part of this and being so amazing. And I let me speak for everybody. God, I hope you're at Furnace Fest next year. I really, really do.
Because we'll be there.
Yes. You guys are like the hype people. I like that, dude. Just hyping us up.
Yes.
But yeah, well, thank you guys for reaching out, man. It's always fun to talk about the good old days and maybe talk a little bit about what's going on nowadays as well. And yeah, you know, it feels like home, you know, when you reconnect with some of the peoples from back in the day. And I will say this, for all its faults, social media, one of its greatest qualities is the ability to keep us all connected. You know, like I don't talk to all the guys from back in the day all the time, but I do keep up with a lot of them through social media, and so it's really awesome. Like I still feel connected to that community and connected to those people, and so thanks for interviewing me, guys. It was a fun talk. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
All right, see you in Birmingham.
Birmingham Furnace Fest. And we'll just hop on over to Bartlesville for the next one.
Yeah, well, we'll get you guys on.
Yeah,
all right,
I
Jeff,
mean, the only thing that makes it so
you.
hard for us. Hey, God bless you guys, man. Appreciate it, dude. Thanks so much. I'm about to go kill this.
All right,
winter
all right, do
concert.
good.
Have fun.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
That was awesome. I enjoyed him.
Those guys are great, man.
Well, yeah.
I love Squad 5-0.
So that was a great show. I felt. Let's you know, we'll be back next week, 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. This is becoming the new thing. So yeah,
there's a lot more bands.
There are. Well, there are so many bands.
At some point.
Yes.
Justin and Kale, do you hear this?
Get on with us at Warehouse Pod. Tim really wants to feel more, but until next week, guys, we'll catch you all later.